this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
So there's a lot of noise about AI, but time's too tight for more promises. So let's talk about results. At IBM, we work with our employees to integrate technology right into the systems they need. Now, a global workforce of 300,000 can use AI to field their HR questions, resolving 94% of common questions. Not noise. Proof of how we can help companies get smarter by putting AI where it actually pays off, deep in the work that moves the business. Let's create smarter business. IBM.
Your summer starts now with Memorial Day deals at the Home Depot. It's time to fire up summer cookouts with the Next Grill 4-burner gas grill on special buy for only $199. And entertain all season with the Hampton Bay West Grove 7-piece outdoor dining set for only $499. This Memorial Day, get low prices guaranteed at the Home Depot. While supplies last, price and valid May 14th through May 27th. U.S. only, exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Your social media feed delivers plenty of advice, but it doesn't know you. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't give physical exams or order tests. Doctors do. At the American Medical Association, we believe the best care starts with a real conversation with someone who understands the science and your unique health. So stay curious, ask questions, but when it's time to make decisions, make them with a doctor. Learn more at amahealthversushype.org. That's amahealthvshype.org.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Morgan. Think back to when you were 11 years old. The whole world is in front of you, and you don't really know it at the time, but the world that you have is generally pretty cool, right? You know, you're thinking about going out, riding your bike, hanging out with your buddies. For me, it used to be going into the front yard with one of my best friends. We were either throwing the football, throwing grounders to each other, or shooting baskets. All right. And then we get on our bike and we would ride and we would explore and we just hang out. I never went inside the house. And, you know, for me, that's the way life is supposed to be for a kid. Unfortunately, in the world in which we live now, there is a thread of evil that runs through it. And yeah, if I sound rather downcast and ominous in my voice, understand, I'm about to tell you why. Because I'm going to tell you about a case today that is so incredibly dark that it will absolutely chill you to the bone. It's a case that never should have happened. And unfortunately, the recipient of the torture, which we're going to talk about, is an 11-year-old boy. He's not going to have memories of being 12 because his torture actually wound up in his death. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Dave, just indulge me just for a second. This case that we're going to talk about today is even darker than many of the things that I prefer to go into. I don't like to cover the deaths of children very often, but I got to be honest with you, it's what many times is expected, and I want to be able to interpret everything as we should. But let's lay the groundwork here from a legal standpoint, and I am in no way an attorney. I'm not a paralegal, but I find it interesting because we have a case today where an individual has in fact been charged with the charge of child torture. Now, I have never heard this before. This case is out of Utah. And interestingly enough, this law came into effect back on May the 7th, 2025. And in this case, I think that from what we're hearing from the authorities, it's going to meet the definition. But just indulge me one second, Brother Dave, and let me read this off. So it's Utah Criminal Code has introduced a new offense of child torture, which is defined as, this is important, intentionally inflicting a serious injury upon a child in an exceptionally cruel or depraved manner that causes extreme physical or psychological pain. And just so folks understand, criminal statutes or criminal charges are, many times they have degrees with them. You heard first degree, second degree, that sort of thing. This is a first degree felony. And Dave, unfortunately, this describes, according to prosecutors who decided to move forward with charges in this case, this describes apparently what has occurred involving a little boy named Brigham Merrell. And he's no longer with us, is he?
Well, when a 911 call comes in, it's almost like the finder of a body, because it's the first indicator we need police, we need help. And in this case, a father, and I'm going to use that term very loosely, but
thank you.
This man calls 911 claiming he has an unresponsive child. And here's what happens, Joe. First responders arrive at the door. They're knocking on the door. It's locked. Can't get in. All the while, the adult here who called 911 is claiming to be doing CPR on this child, on Brigham Merrell is his name. He's 11 years old. And it's his father, who's named Brigham Young Merrell. Brigham Young Merrell is on 911 telling the operator he is doing CPR. And finally, when first responders are allowed in, when they come up the stairs and they see Merrell next to his son, he's not doing CPR. He's kneeling next to the body of this unresponsive child. The child is taken to the hospital where he dies. Now, that 911 call, Joe, we start there. That's because that's your first indication of what happened, right? I'm calling because I have an unresponsive child. Well, what caused them to become unresponsive? We're depending on the person on the phone to tell us what transpired. And according to Brigham Young Merrell, he found his 11-year-old son upstairs hanging by a TV coaxial cable. You know that cable I'm talking about? It's It's not like an electrical cord that plugs into the wall. It's a little bit stiffer than that. Yeah,
it is.
That TV coax, of all the cables you might use to try to hang yourself, to do self-harm, that wouldn't be the one I would choose. It's really tough to make that tight enough on your own to use it like that, but that's what Brigham Young Merrell told investigators. Now, when the first responders arrived, Joe, they immediately start tending to this child because they had been told that the dad had been doing CPR, but he hadn't. And my question for you is very simple. While they came in and witnessed the child upstairs on the floor with the father kneeling next to him, is there a way you could determine if someone was performing CPR on an individual that is unresponsive?
Yeah, it is possible. And some of the stuff that you would look for is going to be after the fact. You'd be surprised, Dave, at autopsy, one of the things that we'll find many times when individuals, and this doesn't just apply to civilians, it will actually apply to individuals that are with EMS. Did you know that when compressions take place, chest compressions, right? You see the people kind of kneeling over the individual, and did you know that you have sometimes you have associated sternal fractures as well as rib fractures in the course of CPR. And it's one of the indicators many times. I've actually seen, in addition to that, I've seen contusions on the surfaces of the lungs and contusions involving the heart.
When you say contusions, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, it's a bruise.
Okay.
It's a bruise that you have. And so this area is traumatized. You think, wow, that's really bad. Couldn't you kill them? Well, if they're already flatlined, okay, if they're already flatlined. That's why you don't do CPR on somebody that has a pulse and is demonstrating respirations. You do it on somebody that is in state of death, or at least they're in a perimortem state. But yeah, that's one of the things that you would look for, but it's not necessarily going to be within the purview of the EMTs to do that assessment, because what are the EMTs trying to do? Well, it is emergency medicine they're doing, all right? Paramedical work, but it's emergency. They're trying to save the person's life. So they're not going to say, gee whiz, it looks like that's an assessment that we're going to do at the morgue. Now, the other thing that we have to factor in is that once a code, and it's generally referred to as a code, once a code is started, when somebody is in cardiorespiratory arrest, there's a couple other things that are going to happen too. You're going to have where they place the paddles to do the defibrillation. And we have paddle markings on the body as well. And these are essentially, so you'd grade them at probably a 2nd-degree burn.
Oh, wow.
And again, and these come in different forms now. It's not like the old days where all you have to choose from are like these handheld paddles.
Yeah.
You can put these adhesives on the chest, and it will pop the thing for you, and it does it in a specific rhythm. And again,
wow.
I'm not ACLS qualified, but which is the qualification you're looking for. But nonetheless, what you're looking for are markings that would come from the paddles as well. So that's something that we would assess at autopsy. And listen, you have to make note of it, right?
Yeah.
So and
when you're dealing with a child, with the differences, would there be a different injury on a child than there would be on an adult?
No, it's just in a tighter space. I mean, you think about, some old, big, broad-chested dude like me, it's just a spatial difference.
Okay.
It'll be more tightly confined, and for a child, also the manner in which a child is treated is different than an adult. Okay. So that's why the people that do this, we're talking about paramedics, we're talking about nurses, and certainly the ER staff relative to the emergency room physician, they're specifically trained and they know how to apply this therapeutic, because it is a therapeutic event or intervention to a child and an adult. You don't want to treat a child like you do an adult. Mm-hmm. There's also drugs that are pushed in the midst of a code, all these sorts of things that try to get that heart beating again, and you want to do it in a timely fashion. Right. What's curious about this, Dave, is that they're saying that he was taken to the hospital and pronounced there. Mm-hmm. Now, this is kind of where people begin to question, was he still alive? Okay, this is what I know about EMTs. Mm-hmm. And, we love our EMTs on body bags. We love them. We're grateful for them. What you will find with firefighters and EMTs, I have worked cases involving children over the years where you will have kids that are actually well into postmortem change. Mm-hmm. Okay. Those bodies will still be snatched up many times because it's not like you're dealing with an elderly patient. All of us want to have hope for a child, right? So they're going to go through heroic measures many times. If they think there is even a whisper of a chance that they can save this child, they're going to do it. So he's not pronounced until he gets to the hospital. And this is going to be a major issue in this case, I think. And just kind of let me explain. Yeah. I've kind of laid this out before. All right. But just so our friends understand, there is a gulf of difference between time of death and time of pronouncement. Time of death is actually when the biological clock stops. All right. Time of pronouncement is a governmental designation. That is like, when they do the old thing, you see it on TV and say, Doc, you're going to call it? Yeah, we're going to call it at, 15:36 hours today's date. That's a time of pronouncement. Time of death is actually a biological finding. So this is where the rub is. How long had Maroney actually been down?
Oh, wow.
Is this something that was staged in that sense, or is it real? If he's unresponsive, then okay, did you hop on the phone at that moment in time and you initiated the call with 911? We're going to be able to tell, Dave, because when he rolled through those doors, guess what they probably did in the emergency room? They probably did a core body temperature on this kid, I would imagine. And that's going to give us a lot of insight. They're going to be able to tell us probably in the doctor's notes if we bled off any kind of time. And just let me continue with this kind of.
No, Joe, you're really helping a lot here. Okay. Please don't think you're taking us down a path that we're not familiar with. When I went through this with LaDonna last year and was doing the chest compressions, and I wondered, am I doing any good? Because I've never done them before. And when the EMTs got here, they immediately took over. And they had a little machine they put on her that did the chest compressions. And they were very fast. Get her situated and out of here towards the hospital
as quickly as possible. Yes.
And I will tell you this, and it's something that I haven't said till now, but I did tell you she was turning purple. My wife was turning purple in my arms. And when I got on the phone with 911, she was already turning. And that's when they said, have you done compressions? I'm like, no, I don't know how. Tell me what to do. And they walked me through it. And her coloring came back. Right. So you know how encouraging that is, that you can see you are, it's having an effect. And so
it is.
It's really, and I will tell you, you see it right away and boom, you're in this now. I mean, it's focal time. So when they got here, they took her away very quickly. We're very, very quickly. In this case, Joe, dealing with an 11-year-old boy.
Yeah.
When they approach upstairs, Dad had told 911, he was doing CPR. But when first responders get up the stairs, they see him kneeling next to his unresponsive son. Yeah. But then when the first responders start working, the dad, and again, using that term loosely, he keeps walking around, Joe. He leaves the room and changes his clothes. He's walking around in and out while this child is being tended to by first responders that he called. And yet he's leaving the room and changing his clothes.
Oh,
Joe, when I went to the hospital with LaDonna, do you realize that Hannah had somebody coming by my house? Because I did not realize that my clothes were muddy. I didn't know. I didn't know, but she did. This guy is changing his clothes while his 11-year-old son is on the floor unresponsive with the EMTs.
Yeah, and it makes me question, of course, from a forensic standpoint, what would be on the surfaces of those. Dave, I've conducted interviews with family members that were trying to revive their loved ones that had been involved in like a really over the top traumatic event. Mm-hmm. Where you've got a tremendous amount of blood. And Dave, I've been conducting conversations with them, Dave, and they would have blood all over their face. They'd have it on their shirt, in their hair. And the thing about it is that when you're in that state, and I pray that none of our friends out there ever have to be in these states or in these circumstances. You shut down. You don't have an awareness because you're extending, by extension through your actions, your love to and care to this person who you're trying to save their life at this point in time. So the idea that you would have an awareness, gee whiz, hey, let me go get spruced up here. Yeah. They're working on my kid. That's why I come back to this idea of what did that core body temperature say? With a case like this, and again, just so our friends can get a picture of this, for the first hour after death, okay, and I think you can go back and review this because we've done a previous episode on postmortem interval. Matter of fact, I did it at CrimeCon.
Yeah, you did.
And for the first hour after death, we're at 98.6, right? Fahrenheit. And not everybody's at 98.6. That's just a worldwide average. All right. So I come in at 97 something every now and then. I check for my own pulse. Anyway, I digress.
Make sure you're still alive.
Yeah, exactly. So for every hour, for the first hour after death, you can lose up to 2 degrees of body temp. Okay. And then, or it could range down to like 1 to 1.5. Then the following hours after death, for every hour after death, you lose 1 degree of body temperature. That's kind of the rule of thumb that we follow. That's why I come back here to, a story where somebody says, I found him. I started doing CPR. Okay. Now, I guess somebody could argue, well, you found him, so maybe he had been in this state for a long time. When was the last time you saw him? Okay. And you found him hanging. You're saying that he was suspended by this coaxial cable. So how long? When was the last time you saw him? Does this story marry up with the science? And of course, as you well know, and as our friends out there know, on body bags, the science always leads to the truth.
Mom, can I have Lingo Kids? Dad, Lingo Kids, please!
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids!
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever. We can play games with astronauts, wild animals, and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs! Lingo Kids!
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Your summer starts now with Memorial Day deals at the Home Depot. It's time to fire up summer cookouts with the Next Grill 4-burner gas grill on special buy for only $199. And entertain all season with the Hampton Bay West Grove 7-piece outdoor dining set for only $499. This Memorial Day, get low prices guaranteed at the Home Depot. While supplies last, price and valid May 14th through May 27th. U.S. only, exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Hello. This is Malcolm Gladwell from Smart Talks with IBM. Today we're diving into a fascinating conversation with Stefano Pallard, Head of Fan Development for Scuderia Ferrari HP.
Your pronunciation is strongly American. It's more Scuderia Ferrari.
I'm still working on rolling my R's. But what I was able to learn from Stefano was the importance of engaging the tifosi, the Ferrari superfans in the digital age.
Ferrari fans and superfans want to be part of something, want to belong to something. So they want to be part of a community, and ultimately they want to be part of a winning team.
You've got Ferrari, which is a long history, design history. And now you're interacting in a kind of digital space. And I'm curious how you balance those two traditions.
When it comes to fan engagement, it's really digital technology and digital channels are the enable to create a deeper connection with our fans.
To learn more about how Ferrari and IBM are using technology to build deeper connections with fans, visit ibm.com/Ferrari.
So in Tremonton, Utah, we've got this 11-year-old boy who has been found by his dad in their home. And he's claiming, Dave, that when he found him, and just let me make sure that I've got this correct. When he is found, is the dad saying that he found him suspended by this cable? Is that what he is actually saying?
According to the affidavit, the father says that he found his son, his 11-year-old son, hanging by the coaxial cable. Now, there is some problem with the story because of what interior recordings, video. You know how some people have video in their homes, inside their homes?
Yeah.
They had a video inside their homes, inside this home. Do you want me to tell you? I probably got to tell you what it showed.
Yeah, I would love to hear this.
Okay. All right. Now, Dad says, I found him hanging and I took him down. Or, I want to be very clear on this.
Yeah.
Because Dad said he was hanging by this coaxial cable. Dad is on the phone with 911 and is doing CPR. I don't know. I'll have to go back and double check to say, did he say he untied him and brought him down? Because, Joe, here's the problem. Security video inside the home shows while the first responders are at the front door. Hey, let us in. Bang, bang, bang. You called 911. Let us in. The security film inside the house shows Dad is downstairs and carries his son past the front door where the help is knocking and goes upstairs and lays his child down on the floor.
Holy smokes.
He carried his child past the help downstairs, banging at the front door, goes up the stairs and lays his child down. That's why I say I'm not sure exactly what he said because we know everything he said was a lie. So they don't know that. Law enforcement does not have this piece of information when they're treating the 11-year-old boy, Maroney, at the time. Now, they do find out fairly quickly. Again, now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, dear old Dad here, Brigham Young Merrell, he was exhibiting certain questionable behaviors as they're attending. First of all, they knew he was lying about doing CPR, because when they got him, he wasn't doing CPR. He was kneeling next to his son. Second, as they're tending to the boy, he keeps leaving the room and changing clothes and washing his hands and doing all sorts of other things. All of that struck first responders as odd. So what we have is his story that his son hung himself with the coaxial cable. But when first responders got there, the boy was on the ground.
Yeah. And so just so folks understand, it's not EMT's responsibility to put their hands on the father and say, no, you're not going to the bathroom. No, you're not going to change clothes. That falls within, the parameters of what the police do. So lots of times, and this happens many times, where EMT and fire will show up way before cops do.
Right.
That's doubly another great example of how dangerous it is in the world of fire and EMTs, because you don't necessarily have anybody watching your back. You're just walking right into the flames. And so if they noted that, they would pass that on to the responding officer at that particular time. It would be incumbent upon the officer to, if that's the story they're getting, that they would need to go and secure that area. Remember, once they take Maroney, this child, to the hospital, they're actually leaving the scene, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when he leaves, they leave the scene. I want to know, did the parents accompany them? Because there was a mom, too, there, I know. I think there's other children in the family.
Yes.
And we don't have every single tidbit relative to that. But how was the scene left? Dave, I have had cases, and I'm reflecting back right now, I've had cases where kids have been taken to hospitals, and I show up at the scene. We do what's called a retro scene on kids, because it's something you have to do it. I mean, you have to, because you want to be able to understand everything, because, well, let's just face it, children are not supposed to die. Right. They don't die of natural causes. There are those outliers, okay, but consistent. So we would go. I know 2 cases in my career where I have gone back out like within an hour and a half, and friends and families in both cases have come to the home and cleaned the home. I remember walking into a house trailer one time, and I felt like I was walking into a bottle of Lysol.
The
surfaces were all wet. You can smell it. If you've ever been in the military, Lysol always makes me think of Army barracks, because they would use like cheap government issue, Lysol knockoff, I guess, and that smell gets in your nostrils. And so once the individual, the victim, has left the scene, is there anybody else there that might be manipulating the scene? Is there evidence that goes missing, or is there anything that is introduced into that environment that would try to put the police off scent? So I'm very curious about this coaxial cable. Okay. First off, I want to know. Go ahead.
He did tell law enforcement, or told 911, that he found his son hanging by the coaxial cable. He did say that, which implies if he found him hanging by the coaxial cable, and when first responders got there, the child was on the ground, that dad had to have taken him down. Just the implication is there, even if he doesn't say he took him down. But he said he found him hanging by the coaxial cable.
Here's another important piece to this. Where was the suspension actually taking place? Because, I find it's fascinating that this person is literally caught moving in front of this camera. Mm-hmm. And literally, not only do they walk past the door, they go up a set of stairs.
Right.
To put that kind of distance. When my kids were 11, when Noah was 11, I can only imagine what it'd be like now. But even back then, when he was 11, me carrying him up a staircase at 11, okay, for me, I'd be exhausted at the top. Why are you going to do that? And your kid is without respiration. I guess maybe he assessed and he couldn't find a heartbeat or a pulse or whatever. Why are you going to move him away? You have initiated the call. So I want to know, first off, what was the anchor point on this coaxial cable? I've had people that have gone into closets to do this sort of thing, on doorknobs, on the tops of doors, all over the place. I want to know, was it anchored if you're in a closet and, where you have the clothes rack? I've had people anchored off of that. And you made a really good point here, because coax is so robust. And look, you've been in media for so long, and you've done production. You talk about trying to wind a cord or manipulate a cord or anything like that. It takes a lot of strength.
It does.
Now, I don't know how strong Maroney was in life, this child, but it would take, if you're trying to not just tie it off, but also get it to loop it around to create a ligature. Yeah. Now, could it accidentally happen? I've had people and children in particular, I've had a kid that accidentally did this in a closet with a jump rope. He was trying to entertain his younger siblings.
And did it by accident?
Yeah, he was pretending to be Batman, and he was swinging in and out, and his mother was turning tricks. She was a prostitute. And this 10-year-old boy was left at home to take care of his 8. Let me get the ages right. Wow. I think it was 7, 4, and 2-year-old siblings. And he was pretending he had a Batman mask. I'll never forget this as long as I live. And it was a really old house with like 13-foot high ceilings. Wow. And he had taken a cloth, a really cheap jump rope, and had tied it off inside of a closet and was pushing off from inside the closet and then bouncing off the outer wall. And it got wrapped around his neck. He died in front of his siblings. And the 2 or 3-year-old was found, and it was in the dead of winter. The child was crying out in the street, and a little old lady came out and heard this baby crying at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Oh, for the love.
So, and that was an accidental death. I've had that. I've had tire swings too, which are incredibly dangerous if the kids get on top of the tire swings.
And they always get on top of them, by the way. They always do.
They do that. What was it? They used to do the Cabbage Patch, where the dance, and that's all fine. It's all, but that has happened, and it's happened in several jurisdictions, and the tire will actually pendulum. So it is within the realm of possibility that you can have an accidental hanging. However, if you're talking about a coaxial cable, that's a completely different animal. We're not talking about something that is like a woven rope. or even a nylon, kind of a nylon strap or anything. It lacks that flexibility, because you have, for folks that don't know what coax is, and Dave, you might do a better job, but isn't it correct? You've got multiple wires that are, and it's insulated internally, and it's got a rubber coating on the outside, correct?
On top of everything else. Yes, it's made to go through walls and up floors and to be a semi-permanent installation. The coax goes into the wall and you plug your TV and stuff into the wall. That's what it was for back in the day. That's what I'm saying. It's not like even an extension cord. It's much worse, and it would not be your first choice if this is what you were planning to do. But Joe, let me give you some other info here.
Yeah, sure.
All right. As I told you, once the investigation began, there were a number of red flags. And so the police decided to have a 911 call expert analyze the call. And this outside agency determined that the 911 call placed by the father, Brigham Young Merrell, was overwhelmingly flagging on the guilty indicator scale. They throw in, while the victim is receiving medical attention, Brigham Merrell left the room to change his clothes. No other adults were home at the time of the incident. There's just the dad, Brigham Merrell, and a couple other children. There was a child in the home who described what he saw. Now, within the first week of this child being taken to the hospital, Joe, and dying, within a week, several items were discarded from the house. Surfaces were painted. Rooms were altered. The police booking affidavit states, this conduct is consistent with an attempt to destroy or conceal physical evidence. You ever seen such as that, Joe?
Yes, I have. And it goes to a broader conversation. Well, first off, let's go more specifically. If you're going through here in such short order, the first thing I'm going to think about as an investigator, I'm going to think, okay, you're trying to cover up evidence. However, with a broader discussion, it begins to lean into the idea of staging, because our underlying supposition here is that this was a hanging. Okay. Now, what can we conclude from that? Well, if you say hanging, there's generally two ways that hangings take place, or the motivations. It's either going to be a self-harm thing, or it's going to be an accidental thing, which we've outlined, or something perhaps more sinister.
With my mom and dad living in Orange County, when we bring my 5 and 7-year-old to visit, we are sometimes in for a 2-hour drive that could feel like 10.
Oh, as an avid camper, I know all about this. We'll pack up the RV and know this is either going to be the trip of a lifetime or a complete disaster.
Which is why we load up the iPads with Lingo Kids before we even pull out of the driveway.
It's what dreams are made of. Lingo Kids keeps kids engaged and quiet with over 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows that kids simply cannot get enough of.
You can pack whatever you think you'll need, but Lingo Kids is the only entertainment you'll need for a stress-free car ride.
Or really, any ride. Plane, train, hovercraft, whatever.
Download Lingo Kids for free today.
Or unlock even more amazing content with Lingo Kids Plus.
Choose the yearly plan and save up to 60%. Search Lingo Kids in the App Store or Google Play.
Lingo Kids. Everything kids love.
Your summer starts now with Memorial Day deals at the Home Depot. It's time to fire up summer cookouts with the Next Grill 4-burner gas grill on special buy for only $199. And entertain all season with the Hampton Bay West Grove 7-piece outdoor dining set for only $499. This Memorial Day, get low prices guaranteed at the Home Depot. While supplies last, price and valid May 14th through May 27th. U.S. only, exclusions apply. See homedepot.com/price match for details.
Hello. This is Malcolm Gladwell from Smart Talks with IBM. Today we're diving into a fascinating conversation with Stefano Pallard, Head of Fan Development for Scuderia Ferrari HP.
Your pronunciation is strongly American. It's more Scuderia Ferrari.
I'm still working on rolling my R's. But what I was able to learn from Stefano was the importance of engaging the tifosi, the Ferrari superfans in the digital age.
Ferrari fans and superfans want to be part of something, want to belong to something. So they want to be part of a community, and ultimately they want to be part of a winning team.
You've got Ferrari, which has a long history, design history. And now you're interacting in a kind of digital space. I'm curious how you balance those two traditions.
When it comes to fan engagement, it's really digital technology and digital channels are the enable to create a deeper connection with our fans.
To learn more about how Ferrari and IBM are using technology to build deeper connections with fans, visit ibm.com/Ferrari.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
I hate why. You know that, Dave. We've been at this for a long time. I hate the why question. I guess I'd have to say what? What's the motivation here? Because as we know right now, Dave, both Brigham Young Merrell, and his wife have now been charged. Okay, charged, not convicted, but charged. Can you kind of enlighten us a little bit as to what the police are finding here relative to this poor child and the rest of this family unit?
What's really going to be important, Joe, is for you to be able to explain how investigators have to put this together. Because on the outside looking in, I told you the dad was the only adult at the home at the time. There were other children in the home besides the 11-year-old boy, Maroney, who is dead. Dad leaves the room while they're performing the first responders are working on him. Within the first week, things have changed inside the home. It's the camera footage inside the home, Joe, that contradicts the story told by the father. While first responders are knocking on the front door, Brigham Merrell can be seen on video moving the child upstairs. The child who he claims he is doing CPR on at the time. Merrell walks past the front door where the first responders are knocking. Merrell claims he found his son hanging upstairs. The boy, once they started the investigation into his death, the boy had bruises on his back. Authorities said they were inconsistent with hanging. Bruises on the child's back likely occurred immediately before or during the child's death. Investigation revealed years-long abuse and torture against the children, plural, by the parents. Children suffered food restriction, corporal punishment using belts and pans. Children forced to stay in an outside dog run when they got in trouble. Now, I wanted to know where the idea of using pans came from. We're talking about cooking pans, Joe.
Yeah, I can tell you. I can tell you right now why they use cooking pans. You want to know?
Yeah.
Because if you used a baseball bat or a lead pipe, if you struck somebody with that, it's going to have a if you just get the vision in your mind of a piece of galvanized pipe, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You look at it and you see it in the terms of it being a cylinder, right? Going down the long axis. Well, when you contact the surface of like a back or the neck, the arms, guess what it comes off as? You have these parallel lines that are very well defined. And if you look at it, you can actually say, wow, he got struck by something. It's like an item. If you use, let's just say you've got a frying pan, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Or it can even be, a pot to boil something in. We don't know specifically, but guess what happens when you use a pan like that? It is a diffuse strike, which that energy kind of transfers out, and you might not develop a pattern from it necessarily. Okay. And abusers actually do this. Did you know that a lot of abusers, when they strike their children, they don't strike them in the face? They don't hit them in the arms. Guess what they love to do? They love to punch in the stomach. They love to kick in the stomach. They love to hit on the back. And that way, from the neck up and the waist down, you're not necessarily going to see anything. And most of the time, they do not allow their kids to be seen by anybody else. They don't allow their kids certainly to be wandering around the yard without a shirt on, anything like that. You just don't see that. And when you strike with telephone books over the years have been used for torture. Do you know that? Old city telephone books that are really, really thick. And plus it creates a huge, this cacophony of sound, that woof and boom, like that when you hear it. So it's the torture is not just in the strike itself, it's in that sound that's coming along with it. And if you're hit with a belt, you kind of hear that pop that occurs like that. But that's, I would think, because that's a very specific detail, Dave, that you dug up.
It actually came from Melinda Merrell. Remember how you mentioned that Melinda Merrell, the mom, was also charged with torture?
Yes. Yeah.
When police were investigating, and by the way, this happened last September, the arrest has just taken place. As we're recording this today, it has just happened, and we're in the first week of, it's May, okay?
Yeah.
And the reason that's important is it took that long to, there is no statute of limitations on murder. So when you have a dead body and you have children taken out of the home because there's an investigation underway, you're keeping people safe and investigating. The information about what was used in the beating and what other discipline measures were used in torturing these children, that came from their mother, Melinda Merrell. She actually told police, she specifically stated during an interview that she was never taught that leaving marks on her children was not acceptable. Both parents admitted to the abuse. They didn't think it was abuse. They stated they should have looked into the laws in Utah before they moved there. Melinda said that she would examine the children to make sure there were no marks on them, and that they switched to using pans to not leave a mark.
Yeah, precisely. It's not going to have the same margins.
And that's what they did. They admitted that. That's what Melinda told police. Now, I haven't looked up these mental giants at this point. I don't know what their background is. I just know that we have an 11-year-old child who's the same age as my grandson, Braylon, and he is not going to see his 12th birthday because of his own parents. Now, Joe, when you get right down to this, can you tell a cluster of bruising located on the child's back doesn't appear to be related to the hanging, but likely occurred immediately prior or during the death of the child? Can you figure that out?
Yes. Yeah. And let me tell you what this child's body would have been put through at the morgue. Let that sink in. What I'm about to say. This is not a standard, what we would call a standard prosection. They would have had to go into great detail with their prosection. It's not just they're opening the chest and looking at the internal viscera or opening the head, which we do. They had to flip him over and they had to do multiple incisions in order to do this assessment. And they will have documented this all along the way. Well, Morgan, what do you mean by that? Well, I can tell you what I mean by that. And this is a necessity that you have in cases of abuse, whether it is children or the elderly, or maybe spousal abuse, where you've got a long history of people that have been getting beaten up, for a while, that end obviously in a terminal event. And you try to do, I've talked about the aging of bruises before, right. But it kind of sounds like we're beyond this idea of aging. Now, I think that the insults on the back can be aged because they're still presenting. One question I have, was the child scarred in any way where maybe he was struck at some point in time where he had an old fracture that had not completely healed? Mm-hmm. Because, just think about your ribs. Your ribs are not just on your anterior, the lateral, your ribs actually go all the way to your back, all right, which is the posterior chest. Did he have any fractures back there that were old and, had not healed effectively? Here's one other thing that they're going to do, because Dave, this really rung out to me. You had mentioned deprivation. When you see this child, dollars to donuts, I can almost guarantee you, when you look, and you and I have had kids, obviously, when you go to the pediatrician, they have that scale that you look at, the growth scale, right? And all the mamas out there will know precisely what I'm talking about. Dollars to donuts. I bet you he's going to fall within a percentile on that thing that is, I'm not going to say incompatible with life, but it would give a pediatrician pause. They would say, oh, what's going on here? Is this child being fed? Because that's demonstrated in muscle wasting, all right, or atrophy. It's demonstrated in the teeth. It's demonstrated in bone growth. Do they fit within certain height parameters? Do you have a kid that's just kind of dragging around and in a lethargic state because of he's in deprived caloric deprivation at that point in time? They're not taking on enough to sustain themselves. And is this happening throughout this family unit? Guarantee you one thing: I bet mom and daddy weren't going without food. What you want to bet?
Yeah,
I can almost promise you. I've worked enough of these cases. I've seen enough of them. Now, trial hadn't occurred yet. The reason we want to cover this case today is because they've just hooked these people up, and I think that it's important to bring this to our friends' attention out there, because wherever you are, there's another Maroney out there. There's a little girl, there's a little boy, probably not too far away from where you live, that's going through, maybe not this extreme, but they're going through things that little bitty kids should not have to endure. Now, an arrest has been effected. It is our hope that Maroney's voice, as we hope for all of the dead that we talk about, will in fact be heard. It's not just the voice of the state wanting to prosecute a case. It's about a little boy that died at the hands of somebody, allegedly, who didn't care about him. As a matter of fact, they really cared about what the state is framing as torture. You can ask why all you want to, but I guarantee you'll still be asking that long after they've given you some kind of answer. It just doesn't add up. Guys, it's a cruel world out there. If you have a chance, you come across a stranger, just be kind. Be kind to somebody today. Maroney, all that needed to happen was a little mercy and kindness extended to him. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags.
Lingo Kids. Dad, Lingo Kids, please.
When did we become the Lingo Kids house?
No idea. Last week it was dinosaurs. This week it's...
Lingo Kids.
Why Lingo Kids?
Because it's the best thing ever. We can play games with astronauts, wild animals, and superheroes.
With more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows, Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids.
So, no dinosaurs?
And dinosaurs. Lingo Kids.
Everything kids love. Download it for free.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Lost support through telehealth, but it feels overwhelming and rushed? Check out orderlymeds.com now. Orderlymeds.com was built to be different. Here, you connect with real doctors who take the time to understand your goals, review your eligibility, and guide you through a plan that's right for you. Orderly Meds provides access to proven GLP-1 medications like semaglutide and tirzepatide, including both name brand options and personalized compound versions when appropriate. So you have choices backed by clinical oversight, not guesswork. It's a simpler, more supportive telehealth experience designed around people who want clarity, care, and confidence in their weight loss journey. And your medication is delivered directly to your home in discreet packaging, so your experience stays private from start to finish. Do your research, ask the right questions, then visit orderlymeds.com/podcast for an exclusive offer. Again, that's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Individual results may vary, not medical advice. Eligibility required. See site for details.
Paramount Plus is now the home of all your BET favorites.
What? Yes!
With all new episodes of Tyler Perry's Divorce Sisters.
You've always liked a little drama.
Plus a whole new world of movies like Gladiator 2.
Now I will control an empire.
Original series like The Chi.
Just make sure we protect each other.
And live sports like UFC.
Welcome to the history books!
New home, same family. Your BET favorites are now on Paramount Plus. Subscribe now.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.